like everyone, I've been grief-struck by what's happening in the Amazon, and I feel compelled to read some poems about trees tonight. So I'm starting with a poem in 3 parts called Laurentian Suite. It's actually, a lot of the poems in this book are translations of Chopin's 24 Preludes, Opus 28, into poetry. So this is a response to what the people call the raindrop, the 3-part one. You know the word. The landscape of my childhood was obstinate. Slabs of rock and stunted pines, lakes spiked with whitecaps. But it had a singular music. White-throated sparrows in the morning, loons across the water at night, buzz of hummingbirds, twang of frogs plucking the stalks of water hyacinth, devil's paintbrush, cornflowers, Queen Anne's lace, vetch and buttercups sparkled in the long wet grass. We wove them into garlands at temple and neck, carried home bouquets that always died en route. We wanted to bring everything home. Raspberries, sweet as maple sugar from Madame Piot's store, where we walked after supper to pick up the mail. Madame Piot, whose varnished ziggurat of hair we believe housed poisonous spiders. Snails striped like beach umbrellas, impossibly small toads whose journeys between our feet made us colossi. Sunnies and perch. Bony fish we didn't like eating, but insisted our mother cook because we had caught them ourselves, and otherwise their sacrifice was meaningless. City kids, those summers reminded us that we were animals with animal appetites, curious and cruel, made of bone and muscle and nerve, the way the land was made of rocks and trees and water. Part 2. Rocks and trees and water, water and rocks and trees, trees and water and rocks. A landscape parsed by fractal geometry, the smallest unit mimicking the largest in unceasing progression. Take a single tree, for instance. Trace the tip of its topmost branch as it forks into twiglets, each itself an inexact but persuasive translation of the original. Now travel farther down. The branches, and from each offshoot sprout others, and so on, to where the first generation splits from the ancestral trunk in a parody of intention. Then follow that trunk through the ground as though rock or water. Under the surface, a tangle of roots comprises an upside-down tree, mirroring the one above. Escher's image of a hand drawing itself. The trees regard themselves in the lake reflects the sky, and even the birds repeat. Part 3. I reject this joyless vision, however authoritative the voice of Northrop Frye, venerating books but observing nature with distaste. I reject his conviction that only humanity is conscious and that nature is an obstacle to transcendence. And had he lived longer, goodbye, Dawson's caribou, sea mink, Labrador duck, and blue walleye. Farewell, swift fox, black-footed ferret, sage grouse, and paddlefish. He might have changed his mind. Anyway, what either of us thinks doesn't matter. The trees just listen to our high-pitched chatter and laugh. They speak a language old as the hills. It percolates through the soil, unctuous as honey. Their roots drink in every nuance, slowly. So slowly, it takes all year to articulate a single word. But trees don't mind. Trees are famous for their patience. An ordinary sugar maple, for example, not especially long-lived as compared to the birch of McNutt's Island or the Douglas firs of the Stiltman wilderness, may hear no more than a paragraph in its entire lifetime. But what it hears, it understands. This one. Need water?
I just.
Sorry. That's okay. That one was about Mauritius, where I spent my childhood summers. And this one is a prose poem set in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And that one was actually, I forget which key it was in. They're all in keys from Chopin. That was D major. This one is G minor.
I shouldn't interrupt, but can you just say again where the first one was from?
Where it was set?
Yes.
Laurentians?
Oh, Laurentians.
Yeah, north of Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Laurentian Suite. This one's called The Current, G minor. We'd spent the morning scrambling about the ruins of Palenque, a Mayan city mysteriously abandoned, as so many were, in the 8th century, and then engulfed by ravenous greenery, cedar, mahogany, and sapodilla trees, the clearing of which disgorged the architecture of a society as beautiful and predatory as the jungle that had hidden it. A society that had ritualized warfare, playing ball with human heads. The day was hot, and the imagination sweated to comprehend the sacrifice of the athletic few for the timorous many. In the afternoon, we climbed a hill to the waterfall, Aqua Azul, whose name gave no indication of its height or of the vertiginous descent onto the rocks below. Like everyone else, we plunged into the stream above the falls, where the indigenas watered their livestock and laundered their clothes. It only came upon me gradually, the realization that I was standing in a strong current, less than a meter from the cataract's edge, and that my legs, already tired from the day's excursion, were close to giving out. I called for my husband. He waved back happily and kept on swimming. I called again, frantic, the water pulling and pulling, insisting that the true god of that place was death. Finally, he saw the terror in my face, paddled over, and yanked me free. The current, it seemed, was mine, and mine alone. It's really
What prelude was that? Based
Say again?
on? What prelude was that? It's the G minor prelude that it was based on? Is there a nickname for that prelude? No.
I'm sorry.
Was there a nickname for that?
They all
prelude?
have nicknames.
I
but
know, I don't remember the one.
Yeah, they're not from Chopin. They're
Oh.
from other people. He gave nothing nicknames. They're various of
Yes.
his later critics. Yeah. So what I feel I need right now, and we all need right now, is hope. And here's a poem about a time in my life when there's a lot of it. It's called The Orient Express. It's another, I seem to be reading only the Chopin poems tonight, I don't know. This is C major. In the third-class cabin of the Orient Express, elbow to elbow with bundles of cloth and leather, in transit from who knows where to elsewhere equally unknown. A couple of newlyweds uncorked a bottle of wine and feasted on salami, olives, crusty rolls, wrapped in wax paper by someone who loved them almost as much as they loved each other. Kitty corner, an elderly Turk massaged his neck with a handkerchief soaked in eau de cologne. Closing weary eyes, he became invisible, just like me, traveling incognito. How I loved the anonymity. How I loved not having to explain anything to anyone anymore. Loved chatting in French and Greek and English and Spanish, though I knew no Spanish. Loved sleeping in the arms of a beautiful boy I would never see again. Loved waking at dawn to see Venice outside the window, in silver, in silence, beckoning like my future. I was 19 years old, and no one in the world knew where I was. And no one in the world knew who I was, including the boy. His arms were a doorway, leading everywhere I wanted to go. And I'll close with one. I said I would read Alexander something that has Russia in it.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
Because that's where my ancestry is also. although not as recent as hers. It's called Perfume. This one is not a Chopin poem. A dab on the left wrist conjures a Russian birchwood in summer. Green leaves filtering with a sweet green light. 2 children, 1 girl, 1 boy, help their grandmother search for mushrooms. In the city, a revolution is happening, but it hasn't reached them yet. So their scuffed brown boots avoid only the Berjozovic, did I say it right? Berjozovic, shrouded in leaf mulch and rotting wood, precious mushrooms to carry home unbruised for Baba's soup. The right wafts jasmine, jangling with bracelets of gold, the palm a languorous scrawl of henna. Wedding music plays, so a blue vein throbs, billowing fragrance into air freighted with rosewater, turmeric, sandalwood, and an undercurrent, not unpleasant, of healthy sweat. It's the groom, with eyes outlined in kohl, fine eyes that glance shyly at us and then away. Next to the neck, mushroom stalk of reverie, where atoms of scent disperse like mist from a cataract that falls and falls and never reaches bottom. And I'm at the Library of Alexandria, arms full of imperiled books, books I will never read, in languages I will never speak. Wood smoke, tang of parchment, leather, mildew, guilt, filling my hungry lungs with their lost knowledge. Thank you.